Please take a moment to increase the brightness on your device for optimal viewing.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Sketchy Friendler, where every day I tell you a story and I draw you a picture to go along with it. Today, I'm going to tell you about the time I was trapped in a very spooky trauma ward. But first, let's get through all the formalities here. Yes, I'm drawing in blue pencil. Just bear with me. I will eventually go into my regular graphite pencil. And then if this is too dark for you, just remember that you can always crank up the brightness all the way up on your viewing device. And last, if you're watching on your cell phone and this appears to be too small for you, just turn your cell phone horizontal, and that way the image will fill up the screen and get larger. And without further ado, let's do this. So, yes, I was trapped in a trauma ward. I was in Tokyo, and I talked about this earlier part of how I got there. I had broken my arm. I had a double compound fracture in my radius and ulna. While I was in Tokyo, I slipped in the rain. It landed on my arm because I put my arm down to brace my fall, but then my entire weight of my body went on to my arm and snapped my arm, basically. Without getting into all the gory details, I ended up in a trauma ward in Tokyo. However, it was all the way across town from where my dad was staying, or where we were staying, where I was staying before. And so it would take, he was conducting a class at that point, so I'd have to wait. He'd finish up his class, end of the day, and then come out and visit me. But it would take, like a couple hours, I think, of taking all the different subways and light rails to get out to me because it was all the way across town. And, so a lot of the time I was just by myself. I had a TV pass, but I don't remember looking at it that often because it was Japanese TV and it didn't interest me. So I would end up, my dad, I had like a hotspot, like a internet hotspot. So I was just look on my cell phone all the time and just talk to people when I was in the hospital. And I wouldn't talk to anybody there because nobody spoke. Even the nurses didn't speak any English. Like the only person that I would talk to, other than my dad, show up was the surgeon. He had done a residency or something in the United States, so he was fluent in English. So I could talk to him, but he'd only show up like once a day because he was, doing operations or whatever surgeons do, right? So other than that, I was just pretty much keeping to myself because all the other patients were Japanese, and the people across from me were, for lack of a better word, pretty creepy. Like I could tell they were probably not. They were kind of like didn't have very good manners, and they would just stare at me because they thought I was some kind of a. He looks Japanese, but he doesn't speak Japanese. What's wrong with him? But they would just kind of mean mug me, just stare at me. And then eventually, like, when I left the hospital, I gave them my TV pass. They didn't even say thank you. They just like looked at it and they took it, handed it to me. I handed it to them using both hands to try to be polite. Yeah, not very classy people. But anyway, what I wanted to talk about was it was not just a hospital room that I was in. I was in the trauma ward because I had gotten injured. So there was, people showing up who had like been in accidents, and one of the other people across the way from me was, he was, I think he was in a motorcycle accident. His leg was busted. He was cool. I mean, he like smiled, but he, again, didn't speak any English. The thing about Japanese people, I think a lot of them do speak English or they understand English, but they're too embarrassed to actually try it because they don't want to sound dumb. So they don't actually speak it. But if you write like on a piece of paper, they'll understand what you're saying, which is cool. I mean, I wish I could do that in a different language just to be able to understand it. Would be nice. I know a little bit of Spanish, being that I'm from California and I took Spanish classes, but I'm out of practice. I'm sure if I took a course, it probably will come back to me. But at any rate, this was a trauma ward, so people were injured and not feeling so hot, right? Um, but one of the things that was just always really spooky to me about being in a trauma ward, if I'm sure you've probably, if any of you have spent time in a trauma ward, you probably may have experienced this, but late at night, in the wee hours of the morning, um, you hear things. Um, you hear people crying out and moaning. It's not good. I mean, it almost sounds. It reminded me of like what it sounded like if I was in like a haunted house or something. It was spooky. It was not a happy place, that's for sure. I mean, hospitals in general not happy places typically, but especially not a place where everybody there is all banged up. I just remember like from the distance, just hearing this weird like cries and moans. And it was like 2 in the morning, 3, 4 in the morning. We'd be woken up by hearing that kind of stuff. So I just would kind of imagine like my mind got the best of me. And I would just imagine like maybe they're not real people. Maybe it's just spirits of people that were here before. And that kind of wasn't a good thing to think about in the wee hours of the morning because everybody else was asleep. I seemed it was either me and whoever else was moaning in the middle of the night. But I tell you, like I got my arm broken, and truthfully, it didn't feel good. To be honest, did not feel good at all. But it was not that bad. I mean, the first 2 days I remember having to had to be on like morphine or whatever it was that they had me on a drip for. But I'm going to tell you something that some of you may know from experience. But having a broken arm, not the worst pain. And you know how like when you go to the doctors, if you have some kind of pain problem, you're like, well, on a scale of 1 to 10, what where are you at? Like, how painful is it? Like, how am I? I don't know what is. I don't know what that. How much do I have to tell you so you can give me the medication? Okay, then I'll tell you what number it is. I don't know. I never know what to say. Like, I don't know, 5, 7, 6, 3. What do you say? But I'll tell you, after I had the broken arm, um, not a 10. At its worst, maybe a 7 or an 8, because it's more after the initial break and once healing, it's more like kind of like a dull ache that just it's always there, right? It's just something that you kind of deal with and live with, and it's not something that you can't concentrate, or it's not a sharp pain. It's just a dull ache because it's like slowly healing. But I'll tell you what the most painful thing was, and I discovered it there. when they had me in the surgery, they put a catheter in, and that wasn't so bad. When they pulled the catheter out, it wasn't pleasant. But sorry to have to say this, but I just, I gotta tell you, the first time you go to the bathroom after they take the catheter out, oh boy, that's a 10. That is the most unnatural sharp pain I've ever felt in my entire life. So much to the point where I couldn't. I went to the bathroom and I was in the bathroom, and I think it was probably early in the morning too, and I like cried out and screamed. So maybe somebody else experienced a spooky experience because they heard me like wailing as I was trying to go to the bathroom for the first time after they pulled that catheter out. I wouldn't wish that on the worst of my enemies. It is not a good feeling. That is 10. And then later on, when I got back to the States, they asked, I did physical or occupational therapy or physical therapy, whatever I did for my arm. And they were giving me like the electric shock, like pulses into my arm to try to heal. And they're cranking it up, and they're like, "Are you sure? You tell us when it feels bad. Just let us know, and we'll dial it down." And I was like, you know what? This is nothing. I just had my pain tolerance threshold elevated like tenfold here, so this is child's play. And ever since then, like I probably am not as tolerant as I was like right after that, but I know what bad pain feels like. So I always have to think about that and remind myself that I it's really not that bad because it could be as bad as that. And yeah, if you could avoid the catheter, avoid it. It is an unnatural pain. But yeah, it was just the kind of the wails and the moans you just hear off in the distance was just very unsettling. So again, I would just imagine like, is it a phantom? Is it an apparition? Or is it really a person? That's how I felt late at night. I'd hear these spooky sounds off in the distance. It's very lonely. Like I could deal with it during the day because like there's just more of a hustle and bustle going on, but at nighttime, man. Like I gotta tell stories I tell a lot of like positive stories, but that's not life. There's bad times too, where stuff is not honky dory. Can't forget about those, so I can't gloss over those times because that's not how real life is. You got good and bad. You got to take all of it as it comes. And that's probably the worst thing. Also, let me tell you as well, if you go traveling, always, always, always get traveler's insurance. It's super cheap. And if you get into some type of an accident or need to go to the doctors, you're not covered by your regular insurance unless you have some very special kind of insurance. Don't get caught without traveler's insurance because it'll pay for a lot of the things. Because it's my fault. I didn't do it, and my parents got really reamed. Like there was a point where, when we're checking out of the hospital, where my dad's okay. I got 2 credit cards. If they don't go through, if I say run, you run, and we get the heck out of there as fast as possible. So please, 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 if you learn one thing from this video, if you ever go traveling anywhere, get traveler's insurance. Blue Cross or Blue Shield, I think, offers it. It's like under $100. It's like $50 or something really ridiculously cheap, and it can cover you for thousands and thousands of dollars should you need it. Because the worst thing can happen is getting into an accident overseas. This accident that I had, this broken arm, was completely freak. It could have happened right out of my front door. Unfortunately, it happened while it was overseas with no coverage. don't be like me. Don't be dumb. Okay. That's my advice to any traveling people that are going to go somewhere out of country. You'll thank me later if heaven forbid you get injured or have to go to the doctors for some reason. And I think that should probably do it. So Monday through Friday, I draw these drawings for you on Facebook and YouTube. And on if you just want to see these final drawings without having to watch the video, or you just kind of want to preview them, you can go to Instagram because I post the previous day's drawings there. And then if you want to see completely different time-lapse drawings, sketches that I do that go through the inking process with more of a shorter amount of time, about 2.5 minutes or so, go to my TikTok account and you can watch those there. Other than that, we've got merch up on the AMCPrincessAnna.com webpage. In the shop tab, there's a Sketchy Friendler collection where I've got digital prints, shirts, sweatshirts, limited edition artwork, tumblers, that sort of thing, if you're so inclined. And on Saturdays, we post the poll where you get to choose the Monday through Friday drawing that you want me to finish up on Sunday at 10 p.m. Eastern time, where we do a live. My wife and I go on, we chat with you as I ink in and color the drawing that you want, that you voted for. All right, so I think that should cover everything. I appreciate all of you as always. I hope to see you soon. Thank you and take care. Bye.